Yo, this is Tin Man TC,
And this is High IQ.
and this is Fried Bologna.
The podcast is as random as Cam Newton losing his sponsorships.
Fried Bologna.
A hood delicacy.
So, before we start, we want to send out our condolences to all the folks in Las Vegas that lost their lives to a maniac shooting into a crowd. And, yeah, some real sad shit there. So, being a Las Vegas native, that shit really hits close to home. So, to everybody out there, yeah, your Fried Bologna homies, we don't know what to say, but we're sorry that shit had to happen, and hopefully we can see some changes made because of it.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers to the victims and their families.
On the slightly lighter side of things, so when I heard about this shit happening, you actually texted me, and I woke up like around 3 a.m, and you said somebody was there was a shooting at Mandalay Bay, and I got a cousin that works at Mandalay Bay. So I was like, oh, shit, I better text him to make sure that he's all right, because I'm thinking some lunatic opened fire in the casino, right? That was my first thought. And so I texted him. He said he was cool. He actually left work about an hour or two before shit happened. And then the next day I found out exactly what happened. Somebody in the hotel had opened fire at a country concert. And I immediately thought, there's a good chance I don't know anybody that was at that concert. None of my black homies listen to country music. And to be quite honest, what are the odds of them just happening to be at that concert? So then I thought, oh shit, what about my white homies? So my white homies that I'm close to in Vegas, I texted all of them to make sure that they were okay. And all of them were. But one of my friends said that there was a friend or two of his that actually got shot there. Yeah, they didn't die, fortunately. They were in stable condition, but that's how real that shit was, right? Like, you know, a couple degrees of separation. You likely know somebody that got themselves hurt. So, anyway, again, our deepest and sincerest condolences to the families and friends of those who might have lost someone or had someone hurt during that time.
Yeah, very, very sad, man. What was so crazy is literally probably 20 minutes after it happened, there was already video online from the concert goers, and seeing that video of like people scattering in the crowd, and you can actually hear the shots bounce off the sidewalks. It's crazy, man. I couldn't imagine being in a situation like that. It's all chaos at that point. Once you realize what's going on, you don't know which direction to run in or what. It's crazy.
Right. Man. Yeah. I listened to. I watched one video, just people in the crowd. I guess they might have been on the opposite side of where the shots were coming from, and you see people standing up, and like you hear those gunshots in the back. Now I've shot guns an innumerable amount of times. I've been around gunshots. I've heard them, but I've never really heard gunshots being let off on people at that rapid rate. Dude, that shit was insane to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, like I couldn't imagine being anywhere near there when that shit was happening. Insane. I'm not gonna get into the whole gun control or mental health issues with gun owners. That conversation might be above my knowledge. But I will say, I don't think psychopaths need guns, and maybe there should be some kind of psychological evaluation that needs to be done with before people own a gun. I don't know. It's very difficult to say. Last thing I'll say, which is kind of also shocking. So I told you my cousin works at Mandalay Bay. His mom had a birthday party there back in June, and apparently the suite that she had for her birthday party was the exact same suite that lunatic was shooting out of.
That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, man. I never thought. I mean, aside from people gambling their lives away and committing suicide in the hotel rooms, which is a normal occurrence, if normal, you call that normal. I would never have guessed that some shit would happen like that in Las Vegas, man. You know, like my hometown. Shit's weird.
Yeah.
It's super weird.
So that's
Yeah, see, I'm gonna stay in the house from now on.
That's how
Fuck
I
leaving
feel,
the house.
man. You second guess everywhere you go now when it's gonna be a large crowd. Crazy.
Yeah, lunatics. But without further ado, without trying to bring down this podcast with all that heavy shit, we have our first guest of the Fried Bologna podcast, the very, very funny and talented Paul Conyers, a famous Bay Area comedian and friend of ours. So we'd like to welcome Paul to the show. What's up, Paul?
What up, guys? Thank you so much for having me. Love the podcast. So yeah, let's have some fun. I'm glad we got all that heavy shit out of the way. So yeah, one thing that I will say that I did come across a verified GoFundMe page for the Las Vegas victims. I think last night, and anyway, when I checked it out, they had raised like $9 million. And they're trying to get to like 15, but it's all going towards the victims' families and everything like that. And it's a totally verified page. And I think GoFundMe, like in circumstances like these, they waive their fee, and they just so everything goes to the victims. So yeah. Anyway, I don't have the link memorized or anything, but if you Google that, anybody could find that. So yeah, I'm sure a couple bucks would go a long way.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'll be the guy to say this. All right, this tragedy happened in Las Vegas, correct?
Right.
People spend hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars there every single day. How about these casinos pull together and some of their daily winnings, they just put it in a pot and donate it to these families? They would have that $15 million in no time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, you give them a week to do that. If not, we send Danny Ocean in there and we'll do this shit the hard way.
Yeah. But anyway, well, I guess you know what. This is be the perfect time for our unfuckwittable segment. The unfuckwittable of the week is that maniac, that lunatic, that psychopath, whatever the fuck his name is, the shooter in Las Vegas. He's the unfuckwittable for the week. I don't know how anybody can possess themselves to shoot into a crowd of people. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's
no arguments here. No arguments here.
I don't know, IQ. What do you think? Yeah, you gotta. Or is he in any way fuckwittable?
No. I mean, if the end game, I guess, is to kill yourself, then why not just kill yourself and leave everybody else alone? I mean, you're outside, you're enjoying a concert, and then gunshots ring out like it's a rap concert. Who would have thought, right? That a country concert is the concert that's gonna get shot up.
Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, no, I think it's pretty clear. We don't fuck with him. He's unfuckable.
Oh, and real quick, we'll actually put that GoFundMe link on the description on our YouTube video for this episode. So anyone that wants to donate, they can check it out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like out of the three of us, I probably have the biggest obligation to donate, right? I mean, that's my hometown. I feel like if I didn't donate, I'm like turning my back on my city.
You know, I wouldn't say you're obligated to donate. I would say you're an asshole if you don't, but you know, you do you.
Well, I guess the first question that we probably have for you is like, how did you get into, I guess, stand-up comedy? Have you always been funny?
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing I ever thought I'd be good at, and the only thing I thought I would enjoy doing. And a few occupations post-college have proven at least the second part right. But no, I was always like the goofy kid in class, and I remember my first big laugh I've ever gotten was a show and tell in in kindergarten, I brought my Hulk Hogan doll to school. You remember those plushy ones that, you know,
I
like...
had an Ultimate Warrior
Okay, right. Yes, my friend
I had
had
Mr.
Big
Perfect.
Boss Man. Oh,
Yes.
Mr. Perfect.
Oh, no
Okay.
shit.
All right. There you
We
go,
could have had a
man.
Royal Rumble.
Dude, I know. God. Mr. Perfect, Big Boss Man. Who'd you say you had? Ultimate Warrior?
Ultimate Warrior, yeah.
Oh, man. Mine's the only doll still alive. How about that?
Oh shit.
He's
Oh shit, you're right. Yeah.
he's not gainfully
Damn. Yeah,
employed
RIP.
by few choices that he decided to make, but anyway, I brought him to school, and you know, this is when he was the all-American guy and everything, and I was like, yeah, blah blah blah, I love him, he's my Hulk Hogan doll. And then the kids were asking questions, and one kid asked like, do you wrestle him? And I was like, yeah, I go like this, and I just punched him down, and the whole the classroom started laughing, and I was like, oh, okay, that was fun. I think I'll try to replicate that for the rest of my life.
So you started off as a physical comedian.
Yeah, I was started out slapstick. I didn't. I'm glad that that's not exactly where my act is turned, but yeah, that was the first big one, man. And you know, ever since then, I don't know. It's just always been. I think, you know, it's kind of just in my blood. I just have it, an innate need to try to do that, man. I don't know. I can't really explain it. I heard like some quotes. Someone asked a comedian one time. They're like, "Do you do comedy to make people laugh or to show people that you're funny?" And my head exploded because I was like, I don't know. I just need to do both, I guess.
Damn, that is a very deep question.
It's way too deep for like a comedy conversation.
Yeah, you guys are not.
Yeah, that sounds very,
usually-
very deep. Yeah.
You guys are not usually the thinkers like that.
No, not like that. We think about other stuff, not like our own, you know, our own psyche when developing the craft.
And Paul, how long have you been doing this stand-up in general? How long have you been doing it?
That's an interesting question, because I would say I've been back at it for just over a year. I did my first stand-up gig actually 7 years ago, and I did it at Rooster T. Feathers down in Sunnyvale, and it went really well, and had a great set. And then afterwards, I had a friend of a friend that had this connection for this big show that was going on at the San Jose Improv, and I can get into the details if you guys want, but basically it was like the worst show that I could ever possibly imagine, and it basically was so bad that I quit comedy for 6 years, and then I just kind of like it was just like haunting me for 6 years, and finally I was like, the hell with it, I gotta get back up there. And so I just kind of jumped back in around this time last year, and it's just kind of been a roller coaster since then. But I've picked up a lot of momentum, and it's been pretty fun. And I've erased the nightmare that happened 7 years ago at the San Jose Improv. So that's the good news, is that I can actually sleep soundly now, and I don't care if I bomb anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, so bombing. I know that's definitely like a comedian's like worst nightmare. You know, to use my many basketball analogies, it's like, you know, going 0 for 15 from the floor and missing all your free throws and getting killed by the guy you're guarding. So, like, what do you do? Like, I know.
So,
like, if
but
you play
in general,
basketball, you,
a typical night for Anthony Robinson is okay.
yes, typical night
Yeah.
for Robinson, absolutely. So what do you do? Because I mean, it's not like you can go to the gym and put up shots and try to just shoot your way out of your slump. Like, how do you recover?
I don't know, because I mean, when you're playing ball, you know, you're just like, all right, what else can I do? All right, my shot's not falling. What else can I focus on? I can focus on my defense. All right, that's not working. I can set some screens, or I can just be a hustler. And you know, I feel like in basketball, you know, you could find something that you're like, all right, it's not my night for shooting. What else can I do? And but with comedy, it's like all you have are your jumpers, and so if they're not falling, then you're just like, all right, well, I guess we're just gonna get through this game and wait for the buzzer. But I feel like it's gonna be a blowout.
Yeah. Now, with all of this, Kevin Hart, you know, issues with cheating on his wife and whatnot. Is it hot out there for comedians right now? Do you got to do your show and make sure you don't partake in post stand-up festivities?
Yeah, well, you gotta understand, like when you do shows like mine, and it's you're doing a bar in front of like 15 people. Afterwards, I mean, the girls are just all over you. It is just asses to the left, titties to the right, and I'm just trying to get to my car, and it can be incredibly difficult, but you just kind of keep your nose to the ground and just you stay out of that trouble. That is pressure I have no idea how to identify with. I can't contribute to that at all. I don't know what Kevin Hart would. I mean, the guy, he started fucking up when he really started taking care of himself, because now he's got a nice body too. So it's like, oh man, he's in real trouble.
Yeah, but that's like an 8th grader having, like a 5th grader having a nice body. You know what I'm saying? He's so small.
Yeah.
But IQ, you were asking a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to just hear how many groupies are we averaging a night?
Yeah.
Is that are we doing James Harden numbers, or are we not there yet?
We're not quite to Harden yet, but once I lock down that $214 million contract, I feel like I should be able to bump my numbers up. This might be a good time to mention that I've been with my girlfriend for 7 years and I'm incredibly happy, and would not entertain any notion of infidelity whatsoever.
Yeah. Shouts out to happy, successful, sustainable relationships.
Exactly. Honey, you can turn the podcast off now. Okay, no, seriously, guys, I am crushing so much ass. I mean, you wouldn't believe.
Okay, yeah. Shout out to those long-term relationships. Don't want to put anything in jeopardy there. Switching gears a little bit. So, have you dealt with hecklers before? I mean, is that something that you've dealt with during your stand-up?
Yeah.
And what's the story with that?
Not a whole lot, but I've only had to deal with real serious hecklers a couple times, because you got to understand, a lot of times people oh, I'm getting heckled. It's no, it's really just the crowd doesn't really give a shit. I mean, we're talking about doing an open mic at a bar where people didn't know that comedy was taking place, so they're just there to watch the game, and I mean that's not really heckling. I actually had a really bad heckler on Tuesday, just this last Tuesday at a bar in Berkeley, and just this really obnoxiously drunk white chick. And I only say that because I guess she got a parking ticket 20 minutes before I went up, and she started bitching to the cop, and my other friend who's a comic, he was like, man, I've never seen white privilege so up close before. And I was like, yeah, drink it in. But she was just crazy drunk, and then the host was kind of messing with her a little bit, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna tell you an offensive anti-woman joke or whatever, and but then she walked away, and then he was like, all right, well, fine, let's just bring the next comic up. And I came up, and I felt like everyone was in the mood for one of those stupid jokes, and so I was just like, hey everyone, why do we like women to wear white? Oh, it's because we want the dishwasher to match the oven. Ha 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 ha. And she didn't like that, and it just went downhill from there. She kept just kind of egging me on, and she's like, you need to practice more, you need to practice. And she had a bunch of shitty tattoos on her arm, and I just said oh well, you should say that to your tattoo artist. This isn't a final draft, but you're the one that has to buy jackets forever. And it just it got bad. I've never really gone after someone like that before, but yeah, it was interesting. And afterwards at the bar, she was like, that was so fun. I was like, was it? For who? Yeah, for whom?
And so is that the comedic protocol? If you argue heckle, you just go full nuclear on the person that's heckling you, right? That's the protocol.
Can. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different for everybody. Like a lot of times, like I've had hecklers before, and I didn't go like that full on nuclear on them. I just kind of like played with them a little bit and tried to like try to make it cheeky and adorable. But this girl just, I don't know, man. She just was. There was no saving the set, basically. There was only, I mean, I think there were like maybe 10 people that were watching, and it was her and her group of like 4 friends that were like the ones that were bitching and moaning. So there was no saving it, and I was like, I was really in the mood to like work out some new stuff tonight and throw some new stuff at the wall. But that's clearly not happening, so that's probably why I just started calling her fat and stuff.
When in doubt, call them fat.
Yeah. No, that's what I did. She was like, hey, this is fun, I'm feeding you. And I was like, stop feeding me. Stop feeding yourself.
Well, that actually kind of segues me to my next question is, are there any jokes you find that are like off limits? Whether it be like, well, because I mean, we're in a different climate these days.
Yeah.
It's a fake outrage climate. It's a let me get everybody behind this fake issue so I can get some likes, retweets, and ruin this person's career. So like, do you find yourself kind of having to censor yourself with certain jokes or certain topics?
Yeah, I mean, kind of against my will, but I don't think there's anything that you shouldn't be able to joke about. I don't think that anything is off limits. I think for your sake, it better be funny. And if it's not, then you deal with the consequences. But I mean, the history of comedy is a litany of people and topics that are horrible that have been made hilarious by great comics and great jokes. So, I mean, I would not recommend going up and saying like, hey, how about that Las Vegas shooting? Ha ha ha. I mean, it's not really anything there. But that's not to say you can't have fun with the really dark stuff. Because if you do it right, then you bring the audience with you, and you're kind of. I think Carlin said it best. He was like, "Well, I like to cross a line intentionally, and then I like to bring the audience across the line with me, and then make them happy that they crossed the line. That's the key right there, is to make them like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're laughing about this." But I mean, it's the Bay Area, so there have been some times where people are like, ooh, you can't joke about that, and it's, it is what it is. We're a very woke society, so it's just something you have to deal with.
We would like to believe that we're a woke society.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people are still sleeping out here in these streets.
Yeah, but on the flip side, is there any, I guess, pressure or something in the back of your mind to remind yourself to push the envelope more? Because that seems to be what gets out there more. The more you push the envelope, the more your bit will be seen. So are you keeping that in mind as well?
I don't think so. I don't really try to push an envelope. Like sometimes I'll just end up with, a joke, and it's like, whoa, that got pretty blue. And it's not like I set out to make it a dark joke or something. It's just that's just where, to me, when I come to the joke's natural conclusion when I'm writing it, I'm like, oh, okay, so it ended up that way. Okay, well that's where it is then. And so that's the way it's got to be if I'm going to be honest with the bit. But no, I don't think I really try to push the envelope. It just happens sometimes. But yeah, it's also pretty fun. Like, I mean, when you get like those crowds are like, ooh, and most of them are laughing, but some of them are like, ooh, I'm not sure if that is okay. That's pretty fun.
Well, that means you won, right? That means you got what you were looking for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's 10 times better than no one saying anything,
right?
Which happens plenty also.
So, like, there's been, like a lot of historical events. A lot have been very gruesome, like this, like the most recent Las Vegas shooting. Like this will go down in history as one of the most gruesome, heinous events that's ever taken place. And,
right.
I mean, we now hear a lot of Holocaust jokes. You'll occasionally hear some slavery jokes, depending on what comic is, telling them.
Yeah.
What event in history would you like to make a joke about that would initially seem like it might be in bad taste, but you have found a way to make it funny?
That's a good question, because I mean, I've made jokes, quote unquote, about like the Holocaust or whatever, and I mean, again, that's not like I'm telling jokes like haha the Holocaust, but it just involves the Holocaust, and I think they're funny. I have been told otherwise by a couple audience members, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think anything is off limits. I really like poking fun at stuff that people do kind of tighten up a little bit about, religion, anything that is the new hot topic of like, we can't joke about that, whatever. That's always fun. I don't know if there's any one incident that I can come up with that it's like, ooh, I would love to just jump in and make fun of that, because if that were the case, like I'd probably have a joke about it. But I'm not gonna I never veer off the road if I'm on my way to writing a joke and I think like, oh, that's a good tag or a good joke, and then it's like, oh, but you can't talk about that, so never mind. You just kind of barrel through with that stuff. There's a really, really good mentor of mine. His name is Tony Sparks, and he's, if you Google the Godfather of Bay Area comedy, it's him.
Shout out to Tony Sparks.
Yes, for sure. And he's an amazing mentor to pretty much every comedian that's come through the Bay. And we were talking a couple weeks ago, and he was like, he was giving me some nice pointers and stuff, but one thing he said, he was like, dude, there are things in your act that I know you want to say, just say it. Yeah, it's gonna piss some people off, but it's what you want to say, right? And I was like, yeah. He's like, so say it. What? Don't worry about it. Just have fun up there and do the stuff that you think is funny, that you care about. So that's the road I'm trying to travel on. Can be a little difficult when everybody gets triggered, but
that is a word that I've heard more in the last few months than I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, that offends me, sir.
And Paul, you have to be. We don't have Guinness, Book of World Records here, but you got to be one of the taller comedians out there, right? How tall are you?
I'm a healthy 6'7", so that is big for a comic.
That's big for most people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I did the thing because I am the tallest comic usually. I mean, there are a couple comics that are floating around that people are like, oh yeah, you haven't met him? He's 6'6", 6'7", or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, there's two of us then. I know Owen Benjamin. He's been in some sitcoms and he's been in some Adam Sandler movies. He's 6'7", and he tours and stuff. So there's room at the top. I put my height into the thing online where you can see where you rank in percentile. Because I was like, I always thought all right, it's 6'7", it's not that big deal. I'm probably taller than 9 out of 10 people. That, I can deal with being in the 90th percentile. I found out that if you're 6'7", you are taller than, only 1 in 2,038 people are taller than you. That seems so high. That seems incredibly high. Maybe it's just because we've been around basketball all our lives, but I don't know. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's a very interesting statistic. Well, I will say this, because, all right, so when Paul came over to Fried Bologna Studios North, we did, the handshake hug, and I just told him, I was like, now I'm 6'3", healthy 6'3", and I told Paul, I was like, it's not very often that I hug people taller than me, and when I hug people taller than me, I feel like a bitch. I feel like I'm getting engulfed in, I feel helpless.
Yeah, well,
and so for me to say that, that's how rare it is for me to see someone as tall as you.
Yeah. Well, I just want you to know that the moment that I hugged you, I knew that you were my bitch. That became clear. I feel that way too. I've got a friend who's 6'9", and I feel the same way. And then his brother, he's got an older brother who played at Kentucky, and he's 7'2", and so I don't think I've ever hugged that guy. He's not a hugger. But I don't think I need to get my chest stabbed with a dick anytime soon.
Yeah, I
so.
think at that height they don't call you a hugger. I think you're just an impaler.
Yeah.
At that height.
Fucking walking around taller than Shaq. Fuck that.
Yeah, dude.
Jesus Christ. And how old is this man?
He's like our age.
And he played at Kentucky, and he's doing what now? Is he a telemarketer?
He's he works for a college in their athletic department, doing like sponsorships or something like
You
that.
better be doing something in athletics, because you can't be a car salesman at 17.
Yeah.
You can't be a UPS delivery driver and be 7'2". That's not a regular job having height.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like once you're that tall, like I feel like I kind of just slipped under that mark of like if you're just so tall that it's distracting, like don't try to be anything else. Like, you get so many like there's like 7-foot NBA stars that are so into fashion. It's like, dude, you're fucking huge. Like nobody cares what you're wearing. Like just show up in like overalls or something and just be giant. Everyone's gonna look at you anyway. You're wasting your time.
Just wear your jersey everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit. I mean, yeah, you can't walk around and pretend like you're normal.
Yeah, no,
You're not.
you're not.
Fucking tall bastards. I'm more jealous than anything, because I always said if I was at least 6'5", I would have played professionally somewhere, and I still believe that.
I appreciate you saying that, and I know that you have a lot of skill on the court, and I've watched it, and you're incredibly talented.
Oh shit.
That said, I do get that from people all the time. They'll walk up to me and like, man, how tall are you? I'm like 6'7", and they're like, man, if I was 6'7", man, I'd be in the league right now. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm sorry for wasting my life according to your standards. I really, really dropped the ball on that one.
Yeah, you kind of did.
Because it's just that easy to make it to the league if you're tall. Just that easy.
Yeah.
That's all you got to be is tall.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Skill, talent, work has nothing to do with it. Just be tall.
Not a thing. I was doing a show a couple weeks ago, and I was in the urinal. Not in the urinal. I was standing in front of a urinal, and I was peeing, and a guy walked in the bathroom, and he was like, "Dude, you are fucking huge." And I was like, "All right, first of all, weird time to not use the word tall. That's unusual." And he was like, "Man, how tall are you?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm 6'7". He was like, 6'7", oh my god, you're just like LeBron James. And I was like, really? I feel like we could come up with like a couple differences just off the top of our head.
Just a couple.
Yeah, I was like, first of all, LeBron's not 6'7", and that's not even the first thing we're all thinking about.
Right, he has thinning hair.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Also, I would love to have $3 million tomorrow, but I can't just roll out of bed and be like, oh, I guess I'll do a Sprite commercial.
It's so Paul, like you talk about the 6-year gap, you taking a break, but since you got back in the swing of things, talk about the progression of you getting better as a comedian. What were some things that you kind of lacked in the beginning that you kind of got better at, and what are some things that you're hoping to improve on?
I mean, looking back, because I record pretty much every set just in a voice memo on my phone, just so I can go back and figure out. Just it's like watching game film basically, and man, just the nervousness of because I've always been comfortable speaking on a stage, but it's a whole different ballgame when you have to be funny, and I just so desperately wanted to be funny. And I would look at the video or listen to the audio, and I'd be like, man, that is just not who I wanted to convey. I basically had to become confident as quickly as possible. And once that happened, then it really kind of turned a corner for me. That and just like learning how to write jokes. Everyone's got their different style. There's not one way to do it, but you have to find what works for you. And I mean, I would not say that a year in that I've got that down pat, but I've at least got an idea. So that was a big struggle for me when I was like, man, it would be an open mic there would be is just me and a bunch of comics. And when you're at open mic with a bunch of comics, and TC, you've been there with me at one. Nobody cares. No, like the other comics, they don't care about you. That we're all in our notebooks. We're all like, you're shooting the shit with your friends, and rarely do you get a whole bunch of people paying attention. I mean, we're polite enough, but we're not. No one's gonna like double over laughing. And it was that kind of environment where like, dude, you have nothing to lose, and I would be shaking with nerves before going up in front of 3 people, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the more you do it, you just get up there more and more and more, and you just kind of become numb to it. It's like bombing, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really bother me that badly. So I think that, I mean, just growing up that much has been a huge help for me.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I can only imagine dealing with the jitters of it when you first start out, man. Like I imagine it's similar to Eminem 8 Mile type of thing. You're throwing up mom spaghetti.
Yeah.
You're pacing back and forth. You're sweaty as hell, and you still gotta go out there and do your thing. I couldn't imagine doing it, man. Crazy.
Yeah, I haven't puked yet, which is good. But I mean, I was like a mess, especially before, like when I started getting like real shows at comedy clubs with people that were actually there for comedy, and and then the bar is raised. It's not just you and a bunch of comics that you are acquaintances with. It's like people that came for a show, and I mean, I would just be all over the place, just couldn't sit still. And I still don't really like. I have trouble sitting still before the show now, but mostly it's because like I'm excited, and I just like, oh man, just can't wait to get up there. The nerves are the biggest thing that you have to get over, because if you can't harness that, then it doesn't matter if you have like the best material in the world. If you can't get over your nerves on stage, then you're pretty much dead in the water.
So, what about like the competitiveness of it? So, like you're talking about, you perform at open mics in front of other comedians, or you're at a show and there's other comedians there, and like, is there anything in you that's like, man, I'm way funnier than this motherfucker, or I hope they bomb because that their act is whack, or I just don't like this guy? Like, is there any part of you that's like that kind of competitive, or are you wishing everybody the best when they go up there because you're just a sweetheart?
I am a sweetheart. That is a fact. No, the way that I think about it is that I think I want, if the 3 of us were about to go do a show together, I would say I want you 2 to do great. I want you to have an amazing show, and I want to do better. So I want the bar that high for me to have to work hard to get over. I do want to be the best one in the room every time, for sure. But I don't wish, people to do badly on stage, because I know how that feels. And, it ruins your night. You drive all the way out there, you get ready, you go to mics for weeks to get this material down pat, and then you get up on the stage and you just shit the bed. I mean, it's a very long 10 minutes when you're up there and nothing's working. But no, like even I have to do a lot of competitions, because it's just a good way to get gigs is to just do competitions. And now most of the time, like I just did one on Friday, and I knew every comic that was there. Some of them, I mean, I know them well. They're friends. And so that's the thing that, like, I never really like competitions for that reason, because yes, I do want to win, but now I kind of have to hope that my friend's set doesn't go, great. And it's like hard to reconcile, because but then like they do great, and then they get off stage, and it's like, all right, that's good, because again, now I just know that that's where my bar is. Competitions, they're the only time that side kind of comes out, and I have to try to tamp it down. But no, I never hope for someone to do shit unless they are just fucking awful comic, and I know that they take jokes from other people, and then I hope they do poorly, and they usually do.
And so what are some of your goals? Is the goal to get your own sitcom and just become a great stand-up comedian? Movies? What do you envision yourself like 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Yeah, that's basically it. The just becoming a great comic. That's really all I care about. I want to be able to do this as a livelihood and sustain myself, and then anything else that comes after that is just kind of gravy. I was watching Jerry Seinfeld's got a new Netflix special, Jerry Before Seinfeld, and the material is cool and it's awesome to listen to.
Classic Seinfeld
stuff. And bits that I've heard over the years from him. But what I really liked more than that was the behind-the-scenes stuff, kind of between the bits and stuff. And he was kind of he said, back then there was no HBO specials, there was no national touring for comics. The most a comic could hope to do is to just open up for a musical act at a club or something. And he said he thought if I could just do comedy, and I would do comedy every night and go home in a 10x10 apartment with nothing in there and survive on a loaf of bread a week, I'd be the happiest guy on the planet. And that's really that's what it's about. I just want to be able to do comedy and do it forever and make it my livelihood.
Well, thank God your girl's got a good job.
No kidding,
Otherwise,
man.
you'd be homeless.
No shit. She pulls it down for me. Love you, honey. Love you so much. Holy moly. Yeah. No, I outkicked my coverage on that one. But yeah, I like sitcoms and movies and stuff. It's nothing that I would turn away, but it's not anything I'm going to seek out. Like any chance to do TV or movies down the road, I certainly wouldn't turn away from it, but it would be a mechanism to continue doing stand-up. That's real, and I don't really ever see that changing. I know people's goals change. And so, maybe I'll think like, man, I've got a great idea for a sitcom and now this is what I want to do. Could totally happen. But I, right now, could not imagine the goal not being doing stand-up.
Well, the only thing I'll ask for when that time comes is a guest spot a couple times a season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
IQ and myself, we've talked about acting on past episodes, and the thing that we find that we don't ever want to do is audition for any spot. So
yeah,
we're a little above that.
You can just go ahead and take the.
We're a little above that.
Yeah, we are above that. You're right.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing we'll ask for.
I'm happy to drop you guys off at the finish line.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need. Shit.
Yeah.
As two struggling black men out here, Paul.
Right.
We need this privilege that we've heard so much about. Mm-hmm. We need a little nepotism to work in our favor for once. So it's all on you.
Yeah, we kind of need all the white privilege we can get. That's ours, and I'm not too keen on just handing any of that out. So we'll see.
Yeah, surprise, surprise. So I know comedy. As far as comedy, I'm a huge stand-up fan, as you know. I know, some of my favorite comedians there, or comedy in general, they say that comedy they're tortured souls. Comedy comes from a place of like darkness and sadness and misery and whatnot. Do you find, or do you at all draw your comedy from a dark place, or from where's your humor come from?
Yeah, I know that's the cliche is like, oh, every comic is a tortured soul, and there are plenty of us that are, the people that do comedy to cope with other stuff, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm not a tortured soul at all. I generally am a very happy guy. I think a lot of my stuff comes from cynicism because I have an outlook on the world that isn't like the happiest, but I think it comes from a perspective of honesty. But no, my stuff doesn't really come from anything dark. I mean, my stuff comes from a strong opinion I'll have, or something that annoys me, But then I just kind of then I'm just poking a stick at it, for 5 minutes or whatever. No, I know that's the expectation is for, he gets these big laughs and then he goes home to a hotel by himself and blah blah blah
and shoots up heroin.
Yeah, shoots up heroin. I mean, honestly, that just except for the heroin, I mean, that sounds delightful. Like to just go back to a hotel and just watch TV. It's glorious.
Okay, so not heroin, then what?
I don't know. Maybe meth. I've always wanted to try smack. So that's the other thing is that I've never done any hard drugs, so I don't even belong as a comedian.
Yeah, what was your biggest influence? Dave Collier or Uncle Joey, whatever his name is?
Dave Collier. Yeah, he's on the Mount Rushmore of comics for sure. Dude, I looking back now, I don't understand how that guy, because on the show he was a successful comedian, but he never was doing shows. He was always at the house babysitting. It's dude, it's a Saturday. You should be at a show or something.
And he was in San Francisco. He should have never been home.
Exactly, dude. Come on, man. We only have so many clubs. You need to be on the road. They should have heard from Joey twice a season. Hey everybody, and then but then he got the Woodchuck show, and I can appreciate that. But man, you want to talk about low budget? That thing looked like shit. That background of that forest, and he didn't even try to not move his lips when he did the Mr. Woodchuck thing. They just had to do a close up every time.
That was one of my biggest pet peeves. He's not really even trying here. He's not even trying to hide the fact that he's moving his mouth. I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Is it? Can we say now in 2017 that Uncle Joey was the inspiration for what's his face with all the puppets?
Oh, Jeff Dunham?
Jeff Dunham.
Oh, man.
Is he the Uncle Joey of 2017?
Man, they should do a Fuller House episode where they are brothers or his son or some shit. I don't know. I don't know if the timeline would match up for father-son relationship, but
yeah, I'm not sure.
Have you guys heard? This is the most fucked up fan theory I've ever heard in my life because it holds water. There's a fan theory out there that Joey is the father to Michelle and Stephanie and DJ, and the theory is they're all blonde-haired kids, and Danny has black hair, and then if we back in the show on Full House, you would look at the old. They would look oh, there's an old video of me and your mom bringing DJ home from the hospital, and she's blonde, and the idea is that Joey was this casual friend that hasn't been in touch with Danny for a long time, and he just decides that he's gonna move in and change his life and take care of these kids. Why would you do that unless there was some guilt that you fathered these kids and now you have to make sure they're taken care of because the woman that you nailed for 6-7 years is dead, and this poor cuckold doesn't have a clue.
You just fucked up my Sunday. Whoa.
Yeah, mind blown.
Holy
mind
shit.
blown.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But that's there's stuff like that with all sitcoms. Think about let's talk about Family Matters. Okay. So Family Matters takes place in Chicago. We got Carl Winslow and what was the wife's name? Harriet Winslow, right?
Harriet, right?
Okay, so by my estimation, Carl Winslow, probably 230, 5'8", 5'9". Harriet,
yes, Reginald Bell Johnson
average size.
was a portly fellow.
I see where we're going with this.
Harriet, average size female, right? But then you got
Eddie Winslow,
who's in high school, standing 6'4" and a half.
Looks like a fucking tight end for the Bears.
Yeah, I'm I don't know if Carl's the father here.
Yeah.
And they never addressed it. They just made it seem like, oh, well, that's my son.
Yeah, he's probably more likely
everybody
to father
knows.
Steve.
Fucking Waldo.
Yeah, everybody knows the father of Eddie Winslow was a Chicago Bull. We just don't know.
Yeah, right.
That's me. It was probably shit. It was man, I'm over here trying to go through my Chicago Bulls history.
Yeah.
But
I think we can rule out Steve Kerr.
I think we're talking about super early '90s. Was it late '80s, early '90s? I'm thinking it was like maybe Trent Tucker. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, or Craig Hodges or somebody.
I was leaning towards Hodge. Yeah, if I had to pick one Chicago, it would probably be Hodge. Yeah,
Man.
and no one's ever dressed that one.
Well, let's. I don't want to be that guy. I always am, but I think this is just a fault of whoever casted these families. They weren't thinking that there should be these kids that should kind of look like their parents, just a little bit.
I'm just saying that Fuller House, I mean, they just wrapped their third season, just dropped on Netflix. I'm sure they're going to do a fourth. I'm just saying, whenever that last episode comes, what if they just took the darkest twist ever and revealed that? I mean, that would be pretty cool.
They'd get me to watch.
I know,
because I've never seen a single episode of Fuller House.
Yeah, you're not missing much. What it is it's essentially like these new characters with DJ and Stephanie and Kimmy. They all live together. That's the new Fuller House.
Well, that makes more sense now because can't nobody afford a goddamn house in San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. Especially one of the painted ladies or whatever they call those 6 houses. Like you're out of your mind. DJ's a vet. Stephanie is like a DJ. She did like Coachella on the show. Like, dude, like you have to be implying that Stephanie's dropping Molly like every 3 days.
Well, in her real life,
apparently
she was on drugs in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's really about that life.
She's a meth head. And what's Kimmy doing?
She's a party planner. You know those 7-figure party planners.
Yes, they do make. So okay, we're talking about a vet. There are a lot of pet-centric people in the Bay Area. So we can say she's probably making around $100K a year. That's fair, right?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think a good vet could probably pull in more than that. I mean, I'm just guessing, but I mean, we could. I think it would be kind and call it like 200 still in that.
Oh, okay. We call it 200K, and then Stephanie's pulling down whenever she can get a gig.
Yeah, but again, she's like the new Joey because she's never
doesn't have
had
a real
gig.
job.
She's always home.
Yeah, she doesn't have a real fucking job. So her income is likely just feeding her habits, right?
Yeah, essentially. That's more or less it. I can't wait for that episode to drop.
Yeah.
Where it turns into an intervention.
Yeah.
Well, we just broke a record. This is by far the most ever talked about Full House in general.
This is like the 8th most I've talked about it this week.
This doesn't even rank. I grew up where we would come home from school and Saved by the Bell, Family Matters, and Full House would be in rotation between TBS and WGN. Mm-hmm. And depending on what time you got home, depends on how many episodes of each you could watch. So when Family Matters went off on TBS, you just turn WGN, you watch another couple episodes. And then during commercial break, you turn right back to TBS to watch Saved by the Bell. And then after Family Matters went off, you turn right back to WGN, and Full House would come on. So I talked about Full House quite a bit in my formative years.
So those years, that's when TV was TV.
Yes.
You had so many GOAT TV. We haven't even talked about Boy Meets World. I mean, we haven't talked about Mr. Feeney fucking shit up constantly.
Yeah, Mr. Feeney was kind of a buzzkill. He was a hater. Mr. Feeney was a hater. But he meant well because he knew that this young, fast life was fleeting. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you're going to be an old man with a mustache living by yourself. Don't nobody want to love you, and all you got is these kids to impart your misery upon. He knew what life was really about.
Yeah, I mean,
damn, that was deep, bro.
I thought he was
I feel like that's what
kindly old professor.
Exactly.
Hey, man, I've thought about this. I thought about Boy Meets World quite a bit, too, as you can imagine. They came out with what Girl Meets World, like Topanga and Corey had a daughter, right?
Yeah, that lasted like a season. I honestly turned it on for like 3 minutes one time. It was unwatchable. It was like your standard really crappy Disney show. It was really bad.
Yeah, I can't say I watched an episode.
Shout out to Topanga.
Topanga was the shit back in the day. Did she grow up to be
Topanga
a
was
good
ahead
looking
of
woman?
her time.
Dude,
Yeah.
I never thought she was that hot.
All right.
I'm not just trying to.
You can go ahead and take a seat during this part of the conversation.
If you want to talk about Angela, then.
Oh, all right. I won't argue with that. Shout out to Angela. What's she
Yeah.
doing with her life?
I don't know, man.
Well, this is probably the only time she's gotten a shout out in the last 15 years. So maybe if somebody,
I think, yeah. She does voiceover, I think. I think she gets paid good.
I wouldn't
I
doubt
think
it.
she do like a lot of voiceover work.
Once you're in that Hollywood like community, it seems like you'll always have a job. You know,
Yeah.
doing something, writing, you know, doing voiceover, shit like that. So
Yeah, she's not getting invited to Golden Globes or anything, but I mean, she'll stay steady.
yeah, she'll be able to continue to be able to pay rent. That's for sure, without having to go to 9 to 5.
And God bless her.
Paul, real quick, you mentioned Seinfeld. Is that one of the guys that you look up to? I mean, who are some of the comics that you really admire?
Yeah, I'll say Seinfeld for sure because he was the first one to really do it. But no, if you're asking for like my influences, the number one all time is George Carlin, which is a boring answer because it's every comic's answer pretty much. But yeah, I remember I was watching HBO while my parents were gone because they would have never let me watch George Carlin. They knew who he was. And I watched his 1999 special called "You Are All Diseased," and it was just one of the I didn't know you could talk like that. I just thought it was I remember the exact bit that I turned it on to, and it was him talking about how he was like how white people need to stop dancing like black people. He was like, stop that. He was like, stick to your faggoty polkas and waltzes. And I was like, I was like, yeah, I've never heard anyone talk like that. That is incredible. And
He was a visionary. He saw Miley Cyrus before it happened.
Yeah. He was, man. I mean, yeah, and I mean, since then I've listened to every album that he's ever put out multiple times. But yeah, so he's number one. As far as guys today that I look up to, Bill Burr, Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle. Actually got to see him like 4 months ago, and he acknowledged my existence, and so I can die. Yeah, I went to he dropped this.
Yeah, you invited me and I couldn't make it. I remember.
Right. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I felt bad because you were like, "How's the show?" and I didn't want to like rub it in, but I was like, "It was fucking incredible." It was, yeah. The host kind of got off stage, and then Hannibal Buress just walks up, and everyone was like, "Holy shit!" And we didn't expect that. And
That's a funny looking guy.
Yeah, he's a funny looking dude, but he kind of recognized that we sort of, he's also really black. Like he's a dark black guy. And so in that club, yeah, in that club, like you really couldn't see him. You just saw the next guy walking up, and so we were giving the obligatory applause and stuff. And then it starts to build when we're like, "Holy fuck, that's Hannibal Buress." And he acknowledged it. He was like, "Yeah, give it up for someone you vaguely recognize." He's like, "I think this guy tried to sell me a Samsung." And so he did his 20 or so, and then I really had to pee, and I thought there'd be like a 2 or 3 minute interlude. And we were up in the front because me and this other comic buddy of mine that ended up going, we sat up at the front. We were off to the side because they want girls in the front row center. But we were off to the side, and so I ran to the back to take a piss, and as soon as like I get to the door to go pee, I see Dave like start to walk up stage, and I'm like, oh my god, like there he is. And so I peed as quick as I could, didn't wash my hands, and I'm rushing.
You nasty motherfucker.
Yeah, I touched a lot of silverware that day. And I walked back to my seat, and I was trying to get there, and he was, the applause was just like starting to die down, and he was kind of getting his bearings on stage, and I just kind of like, I just really just tried to get back to my seat as quickly as I could, and he looked at me, and he's like, "Sup, man?" And I just like melted. I was like, that's all I need. You don't even have to do a show. You, for this brief moment, are aware that I am alive. That's all I need.
Man, I got chills from you telling me he saw you. Man, that's
Goosebumps
amazing.
by proxy.
Yeah. That's dope. So one of my biggest, I'm a huge fan of Martin Lawrence. Mm-hmm. That's like one of my favorite comedians of all time, which means I really enjoy the Def Comedy Jam era of comedy. Mm-hmm. Right? And one of the big things with Def Comedy Jam was like the crowd work. I'm not sure you can call it crowd work, the crowd insults. You know, just finding people in the audience to talk shit about, and if they heckled you, fuck your material. Like, it is ride on this guy until he wants to fight me. So I say all that to ask, do you find yourself ever wanting to do some crowd work just to, I guess, maybe warm up, fill people out, and, you know, go off the cut, like freestyle a little bit? Is that a part of your set sometimes?
I'm starting to do it a little more, and it kind of, part of it comes with getting longer sets. Because when you first started, you're like, you know, if you're on a show, then you're like, all right, you get 5 minutes, you get 6 minutes or whatever. And I don't know, for me, that's like, you got to keep it really tight. But like last night, I was able to do like 15 minutes, and so I was opened up a little bit, and I was just kind of playing with the crowd some. Yeah, so it's something that I want to get better at for sure. Because when I first started, I was very George Carlin-esque in my approach, because if you ever listen to George Carlin, if you listen to him do the same bit in different places, it sounds identical. He has never said like or in his life on stage, and so that's sort of like my natural approach, is to like have, like, I just know, like, I want this word here and I want that word there, and if it's out of place, then I get out of whack, which is something I need to get better at, and I am getting better at. But yeah, now I do have a little more fun, and I give myself a little more liberty, kind of, you know, playing with the crowd and just engaging people, because it's fun. You know, you don't, like, if I'm not good at that, what you just talked about, the Def Jam shit, where you just ride some, like what I did last Tuesday is the closest I've ever gotten to it, and you know, I genuinely didn't like that woman, so I don't know if there's like a fun playfulness that the comic feels when they're like doing it in that setting, but I mean, it wasn't fun for me. She was getting like the vitriol. There was, you know, but yeah, no, I don't know. It's something I'm working on. And it is fun when you do it right. Some comics are really, really good at it naturally. Some, like me, I think I just need to learn to just. It's like anything else. It's like a muscle you got to train.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, one of the goats of doing that is D.L. Hughley.
Yeah.
He used to do comedy. He would go ham on people. Like, he was actually starting to feel bad for the audience, but he was going so crazy. So, yeah. Shout out to D.L. Hughley.
Yeah, that'll teach you to talk during my show.
Dude, yeah, that.
Oh, did you watch the Def Comedy Jam 25
No,
year?
not yet.
All right,
Yeah.
so Dave Chappelle and D.L. Hughley, apparently, I just found this out too, apparently they might have had beef at a time in their careers.
Oh, really?
Not like a real beef, just like maybe a competitive type beef.
Uh-huh.
And so I guess there might have been a little tension between them when they had to do this one part, but it was so funny. It was just off the cuff. They were supposed to be introducing something, presenting something, and I don't want to give it all away, but Dave he started by saying how uncomfortable he is reading out loud to people. Not because he can't read well. Dave Chappelle's a very smart guy. He goes, he just, for whatever reason, he can talk in front of people all day, but for whatever reason, he just gets nervous reading in front of people. So he was telling jokes and going off script to not have to read them for people. And it's hilarious. I'll leave you with that. So, watch the Def Comedy Jam 25-year anniversary thing.
Yeah.
You'll really enjoy it.
It's in my queue.
I actually had a question. So, for anybody listening, if you haven't figured it out by now, Paul is a white guy.
I am.
Yeah.
I can confirm.
Yes. So, I remember you telling me a little while back how you were, I think, in Berkeley maybe or Oakland. You performed in front of a predominantly black audience.
Yeah, in Oakland. Yeah,
in Oakland. Okay, so what is the difference between a predominantly black audience and maybe either a predominantly white audience or a more mixed audience?
Boy, how do I not end up on a blog somewhere? Dude, I mean, that was the only time that I performed where it was definitely like predominantly black audience was it was like last month that this guy Boone, he goes by Ace Boone, and he's got this comedy show that he runs at this Mexican restaurant in the Cuts of Oakland. And I don't know, man, I think my experience is that the audience is just it is so much more interactive, and if you do it right, like, it is so fucking fun. Like, you don't have to worry about people kind of sitting on their hands and, like, you know, because you have, sometimes you'll do shows and you can tell, like, the audience, they want to laugh, and they're kind of like I'll do a show and I'll get off, and like my girlfriend would be in the audience, and I was like, that didn't really...
Shout out to Paul's girlfriend.
Yeah, shout out. What's up, baby? Currently at work. Thank you so much for all you do. Can't say it enough.
She out there working triple overtime, Paul. For you, homie.
I know. Like, no, go do your fucking podcast. The hell were we talking? Oh yeah. She puts the fear in me, and she's not even here. No, I mean, well, like, she'll be in the crowd, and I'll be like, that didn't go that well, and she's like, well, it was one of those days where people, they were kind of like laughing to themselves, and they kind of like look at the people that they're with and like smile, like, oh, that was funny, and but sometimes they're just so subdued, and I don't know. So all I can say with my one experience with the predominantly black crowd is that they're not like shy like that, and I think you have to have like a different kind of material. Like, it's just got to be more. I think it's got to be more personal. Like, you really have to just show your cards of like who you are, and you know, I mean, I'm as white as they come, and it's not like that was a hindrance at all. I think it's just, I think the level of, I mean, maybe honesty is the wrong word, but you just have to, like, you can't go up there and not be you. I think it's got to be like authentic.
Yeah, I think owning your whiteness in front of a black crowd.
Oh yeah, for sure,
is a huge.
It was, yeah. The guy was like, he was like, hey, what do you want your walk-up music to be? And this was in like a Facebook message, and everyone was like naming like all these songs from artists that I have never heard of in my life, but I know they're rap and hip hop songs. And I was like, dude, just play Smash Mouth's All Star when I get up there. And I let the DJ like play it for like 30 seconds, and I was just like smiling like a moron, just kind of bobbing my head. And people, like, they loved it. They were like, we get what he's getting at here, you know, because everyone else was like trying to come up to a cool song. Meanwhile, I was like, play the song of my people, you know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, own your whiteness, that's for sure. That's super fun. It was funny because this was like right after like the Charlottesville stuff, and when I got on stage, there's a bar and stuff, and there was a group of people that were being really loud and super talkative and stuff. And
you're an expressive bunch.
You are. You're not shy, and God bless you for it. And so they were like talking really loudly, and people were like, after one of my bits, they were like, shh, like they were telling them to be quiet. And I just like tried to own the moment, and I looked over to them, and I was like, yeah, guys, this is not a rally, I swear, I'm one of the nice ones. And that's when like everybody was like, okay, like, this is cool.
You weren't happy, you weren't wearing a polo and khakis then?
I was not, man. It's amazing.
That's the outfit now,
dude.
That's the costume.
I know, man. It's amazing how indistinguishable my people can be when you like button up an LL Bean polo and steal your stepfather's backyard decor.
Yeah.
Take a tiki torch and you're good.
Yeah, that's they've traded in their robes and sheets and whatnot, and traded in for a very conservative look. Looks like every white guy I've ever known.
Yeah, no,
Typically that is.
After, I saw the footage in Charlottesville. I looked like 9 or 10 of those guys.
Yeah.
got.
Where were you during the Charlottesville? This interview is turned into questioning.
Not here to talk about the past. Like Mark McGuire on Capitol Hill. Just push through that. Yeah. No, it's.
Start snitching.
Yeah, I got at the week after that. I got fired from like 6 jobs I've never even been to.
So
All right, guys. So we got about another 25 minutes left before we transition into something else. So Paul, talk about with the audience. Talk about the upcoming shows. Where can they see you next?
Okay, so tonight I will be at the San Jose Improv for the California Emerging Comedians of 2017 showcase. So if you're interested in that and own a time machine, we'd love to see you out there in the past. And then after that, on the 10th, I'll be at Tommy T's in Pleasanton. And then I've got a couple other gigs coming up. I'll be at a winery, I think it is, for the Grapes of Laugh show in.
That's a great name.
Yeah, it is a great name, right? That'll be in Campbell. And then I'm going to be doing a show in Berkeley with some really, really funny guys that I'm super excited to be with at the Starry Plow, which is a great venue for music and stuff.
I hate to cut you off. He is talking about California for all of our listeners. I'm not sure if you know this, but we are a worldwide podcast. We have listeners all over the country, all over the world. We have a strong following in Japan as well. So make sure you let them know that Campbell is not the soup. It is a city also in California.
Okay.
So continue to plug. I apologize for interrupting.
Let me not be so regional. Ni hao. I will also be, let's see, next month I'll be doing my first show at a casino, so that'll be cool. I'll be at the Wind River Casino in Redding, California.
That is not a close drive.
It is not. It is not for sure, so better be worth it. That's quite a strike out there, but no, it'll be fun. I get to open for a really talented comic. Her name is Jessica Michelle, and my buddy Carlos Rodriguez, who just I got to watch him open for Nate Bargatze this last weekend at the Punchline. He's gonna tag along, and I think he'll even host. So yeah, that's gonna be super fun. That's November 15th, and then let's see, November 28th. I will be at the Punchline in San Francisco. And that's pretty much it for the next month and a half as far as big shows that I got coming up. But I've got a bunch of other shows at various bars and other awesome spots in San Francisco and all over the Bay Area in California. So if you would like to come see me, my Instagram is just at Paul Conyers. That's Conyers. My Facebook is just search for Paul Conyers, and when you see a really handsome white guy holding a microphone, that's me. There are a lot of Conyers on Facebook, and so you want to be careful. Most of them, here's a fun fact, black. That's mostly black.
Yeah, and here's even something funnier that we discovered back in our college days is my folks live in Conyers, Georgia, and that is a town that Paul's family founded and owned slaves in. Go figure.
That would explain the large black contingency of Conyers in the world. Yeah, no, that was our bad.
Yeah, we'll talk reparations after the show.
Yeah, it seems like everything came full circle here, guys. Wow.
So. We were plugging shows.
And people got your Instagram. Can they find you anywhere else? Anywhere else on social media?
Facebook and Instagram are really it. I have a Twitter account that I can't recall right now. I never use it.
Yeah, I don't follow you anymore on Twitter.
Yeah,
It was a very interesting name though you had on there.
Yeah, it was like unique name 5741. Oh, it's being ironic. But yeah, my website. I'm building a website right now, so that'll be a great hub for upcoming shows and some clips that I'll put on there and stuff. So yeah, that'll be.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
No, but
No?
that is also on its way.
Okay, good. Well, do you mind sticking around for like the next several minutes?
I very much do not mind sticking around.
All right, cool. Because Cam Newton just put his Under Armour shoes in his mouth this week.
Yeah.
Dumbass. Well, all right. So I talked to you about fake outrage.
Right.
And upon listening to everything that Cam said during that interview, sounded kind of like it was fake outrage to begin with. And then in a group text with a couple homies, I realized that I was being insensitive. But I do believe this could have gotten cleared up with some very quick and a very quick response to what he could have said that he meant. He could have lied his way out of this, and it couldn't have been a big issue. He could have just said, what I meant by it's funny hearing a woman talk about routes is I'm very impressed with how much our women know about a male sport, and I'm very impressed. And for her to talk about it, I was taken aback by it. So I did not mean it in a condescending way. He could have really cleared himself really quickly on that.
Yeah,
Yet
he kind of doubled down, didn't he? What did he do?
Nah, he apologized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said that, having two daughters, he understands. Yeah, all the importance, everything. Like, IQ, I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I don't believe his remarks were worthy of losing sponsors over.
Oh, not at all, man. Just me being a sports fan and, like I say, knowing Cam from a fan's perspective, when I watched the interview, I took it that way. I took it exactly how you just laid it out. He thought it was kind of cool that it was lady knowing, being that technical about running routes and asking that type of question. And to be fair, I'm not making any excuses, but to be fair, you gotta understand also, on a day-to-day basis, they're consistently getting asked questions, right? Not just from the typical ESPN and the Fox Sports 1. They're dealing with local media too. And 99% of the questions they're asked are dumbass questions, right?
Exactly.
Or they're trying to get a scoop. They're not even worried about the game. So not only was that lady's question a good question, it showed that she knows her stuff. So he's probably taken aback by that. And that prompted the chuckle. But I get why people are upset. Because if you replace that woman, the phrase woman, with anything else, it's inappropriate. But that being said, I've talked to several women and I showed them the interview, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think that at all either." So I don't think he should have lost sponsorship. I think
maybe the reason they didn't take that as serious as the woman asking the question is because she's a professional reporter and she's worked very hard to get the job that she has. So his comment could have seemed very condescending, like he's undermining her profession. So maybe the women that you've asked don't necessarily have that. They don't have that disposition that she might.
True.
Yeah.
But I do feel like what did she say? What has she said?
Well, this is my problem with it, right? Like, she could have taken that moment to check him and ask him what did he mean by that at that very moment. Instead, like most social justice warriors, she took to Twitter to make it an issue. And these days, that's how you get people fired from their jobs. That's how you get people to lose sponsors. That's how outrage is taken now. So to me, it didn't seem like genuine outrage to begin with. And that was the only problem I had with it. Not necessarily her feelings, because I think she had every right to feel the way she did, but she could have easily checked him in that moment and asked him to clarify what he meant. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's my thoughts on that stuff. First of all, I think IQ put it perfectly. I mean, it was maybe not the smartest thing to say, but I did read his whole apology, and it was like pitch perfect. And I mean, it was not the best thing to say, but I mean, should you really like lose tons of sponsorship deals and all this shit? Because again, like Q said, these guys get asked shit every day, every single day. And again, it's not just ESPN. It's not just in the locker room after a game. It's constantly, and a lot of this stuff is really stupid questions. A lot of times it's just people from like TMZ that are trying to elicit a stupid response that they can put on the the headline of an article online to get people to click. But I mean, first of all, I mean, I didn't even like IQ said, or which one he said that you showed it to a couple women. They were like, I didn't think it was that bad. But dude, like, these guys get questioned constantly by people that have no idea what kind of pressure they're under. I mean, these guys are the best athletes in the world. Cam Newton is a top 10 player on the planet, basically, at his position. And he gets constantly asked by people that are just some nerd in a sweater vest, and is like, Cam, I had the benefit of instant replay in about 30 different angles, and I've watched it for 2 hours, and I have a different opinion on how you should handle that play. Do you care to elaborate? And he's like, oh, Jesus. Like, dude, I mean, I was wearing a fucking helmet, and I was surrounded by a bunch of giant men. I couldn't see everything you saw. I'm just trying to do my best.
Yeah. That was succinct.
That always has bothered me. Just, I love sports coverage and I love sports news, but the way that so many people just pick apart these split-second decisions, and yeah, I'm not saying you can't say like, oh yeah, you probably should have thrown the ball away there or whatever, but when they're like this guy doesn't belong in the starting position, it's like, dude, like, he made one mistake like that. Yeah, I understand it's a mistake, but it's the sensationalism of 24-hour sports news, or just news these days. We gotta fill it up, so it's got to be like, is this the biggest mistake? Like, did Cam Newton just say that women are subservient? Like, I think it's a footnote. It was a dumb thing to say. He apologized. Give him back his Oikos member sponsorship,
Yeah, this literally should be the last time this has been brought up, right?
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't be talking about this leading into Monday and the rest of the week.
Right.
And how do you guys feel about the whole this whole, you make a mistake, you say something bad, you lose a sponsorship, right? But then what? I don't know, a season later, let's say you hit all-star numbers, you have an incredible season, they sign you back. It's like,
right.
Like the whole thing with Kobe. Like, Kobe got dropped by Nike after that whole thing in Colorado, remember? He lost all that fucking weight.
They got dropped by Adidas.
Okay. Did he? I thought he was with Nike, then they dropped him. He had just signed with
Nike. He was with Adidas, then signed with Nike. He was a free agent for like a year or two, a season or two, and then signed with Nike.
Okay. Well, he lost the sponsorship. But then they know it's coming back. Like, what's the point? Just to save face? I mean, how many sponsorships is O.J. Simpson gonna get coming out? The Juice is gonna get.
And O.J. goddamn Simpson. I think O.J. should get a sponsorship from the game of Monopoly. and they can really play up that whole get out of jail thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like every other spot on the board.
Yeah. Yes, I think OJ. I think companies should either stay completely away from him or go all in.
There was a rumor a few months back, because I think like legal analysts were like, yeah, he's gonna get paroled, like he's gonna get out. So it was kind of coming, and I guess there was rumors circulating that there's going to be a reality show with O.J. Simpson and Casey Anthony in Florida.
What the? That is sick.
Yeah, probably.
You want to know what's sicker? You want to know what's sicker is when I just heard that, it didn't really do anything for me. It didn't surprise me. That's the time we're living in. I said, okay.
Yeah.
What right. Network? That was my next question. What network is it going to be on?
E.
Damn shame.
Yeah, E. That's a good one. That actually would fit them perfectly.
Yeah.
But dude, yeah, I mean, in an age where some 13-year-old little twat goes on Dr. Phil, says one catchphrase, and gets a rap album, I guess you're right, man.
Yeah.
I think I've expended way too much energy on the Cash Me Outside girl, and every time I even say those names and think of how now her stupid ass is paid, it pisses me off. I wonder why I go to work every day.
Yeah.
Why do I go to work? Why do I try?
Because
we wasted college years. We should have just been doing rap albums and YouTube videos. Yeah, our bad.
Well, just try to comfort yourself that no one's gonna buy a rap album, and the minute she turns 18, we're gonna see her on the splash page of Pornhub.
If we're lucky enough. Wait, hold on. That came out wrong. That came out really wrong. I don't mean it that way. I don't mean it that way. What I mean is, let's move on.
We'll be back up to these messages.
I think that's gonna. Yeah, there's no way I can clean that up to make it not sound like I didn't mean that. I did not mean that in a creepy way. Not at all.
All right,
Shit.
well, as soon as you write your 2-page apology and talk about how you have a daughter, and
yeah, I didn't mean it the way that sounded. I just want to know, all my fans out there, I'm a very loving and respectable man. I don't know where else to go with that apology.
okay.
I should probably speak to my lawyers.
I think that was good, but I think the good people at Pepsi are going to take this in another direction. We will not be looking for your sponsorship.
Well, good. Fuck Pepsi. Coca-Cola all day.
There you go.
We fuck with cola around here. Nothing but cola.
All right, good.
Yeah,
Good. There's a good lesson for Cam. There's other yogurt companies that I'm sure will be glad to pick you up.
Absolutely. Who makes Go-Gurt?
Yeah.
Who are those guys?
That's more in keeping with him anyway.
Yeah.
Slam that shit at halftime.
There you go. Yeah, Cam, we've got a plan B for you, buddy.
Who honestly would be so offended that they'd go out of their way to like not buy that brand of yogurt? That's why I don't get people dropping sponsors anymore. Like how much yogurt are you really not going to sell? Like 50 cups?
Listen. We've got a president in the motherfucking White House that has said the most egregious anti-woman shit, anti-minority, insert name of minority here. He just, okay, was it insulting the way he said Puerto Rico? The people of Puerto Rico, or however you fucking said it. Is that insulting, or are we going to, or is it okay that he was trying? Because I don't know which side of the fence to be on that, to be quite honest.
It's not. It's insulting a little bit, I think. It's no different from like you being around like a really, really white guy, and every time he says 50 cent, he says 50. And you're like, Scott, you can just say 50.
Yeah.
We say 52, bro. It's like that, It's like, it's cringeworthy, That's what I look at.
All right, well, I did not look at it that way.
Yeah.
Good point. And of course, knowing that guy, he didn't say it in the most like sensitive way. He seemed like he was saying it to insult them.
Yeah.
To mock them. Yeah. To mock them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, I don't. So, all right, I know that the interview part of the podcast is over, but I do have a question.
Okay.
Is Trump low-hanging fruit? Is it too easy to make jokes about Donald Trump, or he just gives you material and it's just what?
The way I think of it is, yes, it is. To me, it's too easy. It's like if you were walking down the street and you saw a homeless guy in a clown costume juggling his own shit. Like, how do you make fun of that? Like, that is so absurd and stupid. Where do you go from there? I mean, he says shit and things happen with that administration that, like, Saturday Night Live couldn't come up with. Like, dude, like Melania just gave a speech about cyberbullying like 2 weeks ago. How is every reporter there not pissing themselves laughing? That is fucking hilarious. Her husband is the biggest cyberbully on the planet. He's picking fights with, like, TV shows and talk show hosts. He's running the goddamn country, and he's wasting his time on that, like, making fun of facelifts and stuff. And you have the audacity to say, oh, you shouldn't cyberbully people. That is objectively hilarious, and I don't know how you take it to another level. So, honestly, if you go to a comedy show, very rare. Like, there might be, like, a throwaway joke about Trump every now and then. I think when I first started, I had this joke about, you know, the whole grab him by the pussy thing, and I had some fun with that. Because it's a stupid thing to say for so many reasons. Like, I mean, how do you grab a woman by the it's internal genitalia. There's nothing to grab onto. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's too low for me. Like, there's nothing that I could come up with that it's like that isn't just like saying how stupid this thing that he did this week is.
Speaking of Melania, fellas, is she the most uneducated first lady we've ever had? Because Melania does not strike me as intelligent at all.
Yeah, she's not intelligent. I mean, I don't know if she's the most unintelligent, because you got to think about, like, God, back in the days before, like, women really had any rights. I mean, they just, you know, I'm sure Taft's wife was like a goddamn moron or something. But yeah, she's not a smart person. I think that much should be clear. She, you know, I don't know if she's like a moron, but I just, like, people, like, if you ever read the comments in Fox News and, like, finally we have a first lady we can be proud of, and it's like, are you saying that with a straight face?
Yeah, I feel like Fox News they're trolls. They don't mean half of the shit they say. And if they do, they don't live in this reality.
I think it's the latter, man. I think they don't live in this reality.
Are they choosing, though, to not live in this reality?
Willfully, yeah. It's about, I mean, that's what the whole platform that got this guy elected was feelings. It wasn't facts. If it was facts, then he never would have, you know, made it out of the primaries. But he ran on how people felt, and so people grab onto that. Like, yeah, it is the Mexicans. Yeah, it is these fat cats and blah blah blah.
So let's say, IQ. Let's say, right, you work for a prestigious law firm. Let's just say you do, right? Mm-hmm. And you made partner, right? And now your name is the first on the three names. It's, you know, High IQ, Leibowitz, and Schultz. Yes, those two other lawyers are Jewish.
Probably could have figured that
out. And so now your wife is, they give your wife, okay, so your wife is a mail order bride, right? And they say, hey, now it's your wife's job to articulate our goals to our potential clients and to our current clients. And they also give her like a pet project, like she gets to focus on underfunded schools in the inner city. And you know she has no fucking idea about anything. The longest word she has ever said was "I do," and those are 2 words. So,
wow. Well, there's only 2 ways you can go about it, though. Either you sit down with your fellow partners, you're like, listen, fellas, I totally admire the fact that you guys are considering my wife for this position, but and you just make something up, right? You just lie and say she had other obligations, something happened where she had to take care of it, right? Or, like most people, right, who have just made partners, you feel that pressure and you can't say no to the other partners, so you go home and you say, listen, here's the job, don't fuck this up, we're going to do it together. Because my reputation's on the line as well. You put that pressure on her. But either way, you're fucked. Either way.
yeah, because, I forgot to put this in here. She also, her acceptance speech, or a speech that she gives on your behalf, because she's affiliated with you, that speech has been verbatim stolen from the previous lady's speech.
Yeah, in any other scenario, you're finished. You're done. You're done.
I just wanted to know where everybody stands. That's all. I think that Melania's job should be to be seen and not heard. And I don't mean this because she's a woman. I just mean because there's nothing she could say to represent this dumpster fire very well. There's nothing she could say about anything.
Yeah, I got
that said,
what scares me, what really scares me is this. It's just the fact that he's just literally approaching everything how he did his reality show. Like, not good enough. You're out of here. You're done. You're fired. You know. And I think my biggest concern is he has people telling him. He has people advising him, but he's just like, don't want to hear it. This is my final decision. I'm concerned that people are like, Mr. Trump, you do realize if you send this memo out, you are declaring war, sir. We will be going to war. And he's like, did get it done? And it's like, no, but sir, no. This will take us to a nuclear war. And it's like, it's the president of it, damn it. That's what I'm concerned. That's the scenarios I imagine that's going on. Every day we're going to bring fucking war, and someone has to calm him down. Calm that little, pat his little toupee.
Yeah.
Calm him down, and just fight on another day. How do you feel about it, Paul? I mean, like, that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, who the fuck in the country?
Yeah, the problem is that, like, I remember watching the interview, or an interview shortly thereafter, where he became president, and when you get like the briefcase with the nuclear codes and stuff, and the reporter was asking somebody that has been like doing the ins and outs of Washington and has worked in White Houses and stuff, and the reporter was like, what, like, if President Trump said, here are the nuke codes, I want to, we're launching a nuke right now, like, what barriers does he have to go through to make that happen? And the guy was like, there aren't any. That's not it's not designed to be a step-by-step process. It's like, if this guy decides we nuke, then it happens. So
then I think that's when we see Donald Trump slip, fall, land on somebody's bullet out of their gun.
Honestly, I mean, yeah, because he's got people working for him that are just scrambling every day to keep this fire contained. I think. I mean, that's clear. When the Russian ambassadors, dropped by, and he was openly bragging about the level of intelligence that he gets. Like, dude, you are the fucking boss. That's like the CEO, like, bragging to potential clients about how he gets the accounting reports every week. Like, yeah, no shit. Like, you run the country, you idiot. But he it was apparently reported, and the sources that I heard were pretty solid, that he revealed so much that like intelligence representatives like NSA and FBI and stuff, they had people literally sprinting out of the room because he had compromised so much shit with just how much he had to brag about the level of intelligence that he gets.
Hey, look at my dick.
Yeah.
Look, it's bigger than they said it was. But hey, we're not talking about Trump on this podcast today. Right. Not this podcast.
Good.
We'll take the high road this time, and not take the low hanging fruit that I was talking about.
Okay.
But hey, IQ, I think we should wrap it up, man. I think this has been one of our more interesting calls, having Paul on. Paul, we would definitely love to have you back sometime in the near future, man, and just to join the show, take a look at your progress, see how everything's been going.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This has been super fun. Thank you guys so much for having me. And yeah, anytime you guys want me back, let's talk some shit.
Appreciate it, Paul. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah, and Paul, this next part's not for you, for a racial epithet that I'm going to use. So this part's not for you.
Okay. I'll tune out.
So IQ, as always, man, it's been a pleasure. And
likewise, bro.
Yeah, and just remember, man, we're just a couple suburban hood niggas out here trying to make it.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Amen, guys.
All right, man, you take it easy.
All right, peace.
Peace.